Hello everyone, JL Wasabi here. Today will be a longer video where I will be teaching you how to play Cypher in set 14. Sorry that this video is pretty long, but that is because Cypher is a more complicated trait that needs a lot more explanation and calculation. So do bear with me on this. But before we begin, I would just like to say that it will really help small content creators like myself a lot if you can like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Thank you so much, and let's get right into it. First up, I would like to say that Cypher is not an easy trait to play, but it is really strong. I would personally always go for Cypher if I am in a good spot for it by stage 2-1. Cypher units include Vi, LeBlanc, Draven, Galileo, and Zed. The aim of Cypher is to collect as many intel stacks as possible, and you collect it from combat losses, which increases consecutively, and also from killing enemy units. Thus, for the maximum stacks possible, you will need to lose streak as long as you can while killing as many units as possible. This is not an easy task and comes with endless scouting and positioning as well as experience in loss streaking. However, the rewards are more often than not worth the effort. The intel stacks collected can only be traded in once per game, at stage 3-3, 3-7, 4-2, 4-7, or at stage 5-5 where any stacks will automatically cash out. After this trade, all Cypher units on your board will gain AD and AP. This stat bonus is dependent on your current board and not when you did the cash out. In patch 14.3, the intel stacks gained from combat losses were nerfed for stage 2 from 18 to 16, while that for stage 4 and 5 were buffed from 22 and 24 to 24 and 28 respectively. This was done to encourage Cypher Splash late game for quick cash outs, but this inadvertently buffed the late game Cypher cash outs from 4 and 5 Cypher. The stat bonuses for 5 Cypher was increased to 65% as well, making it a great time to be playing Cypher. Historically, lose streak traits are always the strongest at the start of the sets before Riot starts to balance and nerf it until the second last patch before the final competitive tournament starts. I did some calculations of my own to show why, when, and how you should always be playing Cypher. The Google link to my calculations is in my video description below, so feel free to take a look and also provide comments on how it can be improved as well. For the assumptions, I'm assuming that we are not hard forcing this, even though you can definitely do so. So we are assuming a 3 Cypher opener for stage 2, 4 Cypher for stage 3, and 5 Cypher for stages 4 onwards. Thus, the expected stacks will be higher if you manage to have a 4 Cypher opener, while it will be lower if you take a few turns to force out a 3 Cypher start. Second, I am assuming the number of enemies based on my usual playstyle of leveling at stages 2-5, 3-2, 3-6, and 4-2, but it really depends on your game lobby. For my mixed streak calculations, I assume that a win-lose-win-lose-win mixed streak is the worst for a Cypher game, but this should not affect my conclusions too much. For my hostile takeover calculations, I assume that the 30% intel stacks from combat losses are rounded down, but the difference is negligible for this. Fifth one is not exactly an assumption, as I had backtested the calculations, so it is more of an FYI. The increasing stacks from lose streak is not multiplied by the Cypher trait factor, but a flat addition to the intel stacks. Last, all units killed contribute to the intel stacks gain, including Golem, Nitro Robot, and Soul Killer units. So far, I have not encountered any that does not, but do let me know in the comments below if you know of any. I will be explaining why you should always be playing Cypher. Here you can see the summary of my calculations, which includes the cumulative intel stacks for a full loss streak without killing any units at all, a full loss streak while killing the maximum number of units possible, and a full mixed streak. Hostile takeover calculations will be shown later on. With these values, you can see that purely by ensuring your 10 lose streak for stage 2 and 3, you can get between 410 and 517 Intel stacks. That is more than comfortable for a transition to a winning board aside from players hitting crazy win conditions. If you can ensure 15 lose streak, you can expect to have between 890 stacks and 1137 stacks. This is a guaranteed win, which I will be showing why later on with the cash out tables. While a 15 lose streak can be comfortably achieved with health augments, it can also be possible without it. This is why I say Cypher is very strong now, and you should always play Cypher if you can. When should you play Cypher? Here you can see a comparison table where the orange columns on the left are for a standard Cypher game, while the blue columns on the right are for a hostile takeover Cypher game. Hostile takeover is a Cypher-specific augment that causes you to gain double the stacks from killing units while only receiving 30% from combat losses. It also gives you a Draven to help with a 3 or 4 Cypher opener. The magic number to remember is 290 for stage 3-3, 450 for stage 3-7, 550 to 700 for 4-2, and more than 900 for stage 4-7. These numbers are important to remember with the stage, as your cash out needs to spike your board beyond the expected tempo of the lobby at that stage. Do not try to cash out at 5-5, as you are unlikely to survive until then unless you're on a hostile takeover full 18 win streak. There is a reason why stage 5-5 is not indicated in the trade description. While I will be talking more about the cash outs later on, based on the magic numbers I told you to remember, you will see that you can really only play Cypher and win under certain conditions in order to reach the magic numbers. Firstly, it can be achieved with a full lose streak as mentioned before, with my assumptions of 3 Cypher opener for stage 2, 4 Cypher for stage 3, and 5 Cypher for stage 4. This is not a very difficult condition to achieve, but keeping the lose streak while staying alive can be hard. Second is a full win streak with hostile takeover. While the numbers are slightly behind what is required at each stage, if you are able to win streak, you can hold your cash out as long as possible to cash out at 5-5 while keeping a high health. While the cash out may not be useful to have a giga huge spike at that point in time, the value of the cash out will still be able to help you reach top 3 or top 2, given that you should have saved up a lot of health along the way that you can bleed out afterwards. You can also try to play a lose streak on hostile takeover while killing as many units as possible, since kills give double the intel stacks. However, this playstyle is much more difficult as you will need to constantly ensure minimum losses by scouting. Do note that while playing hostile takeover, it is still better to win streak as much as possible, but it is not the end of the world if you lose a few matches, since the combat losses does not matter as much. Just make sure to remember the magic numbers while deciding when to do your cash outs. I've also included a link to the Cypher cash out table that I refer to from Tactics tool in my video description below. For stage 3-3, we are looking to cash out between 290 and 330 stacks. If you are already beyond 330 stacks at this point, it would be better to cash out later, since the 330 stacks cash out is not great. At 290 cash out, there is a 25% chance of getting a Masterwork upgrade for your items like Zed's Edge of Night, and a 25% chance of getting a random Radiant item with 2 Reforges. This cash out is superb for stage 3-3, given that this is equivalent to a prismatic augment, while everyone currently should only have 2 augments by stage 3-2. This gives a lot of tempo, allowing you to transition to a board that can start winning immediately. However, the other 50% chance of cash outs may not be so ideal, so there is still a risk to this. But given that this is only stage 3-3, we can still catch up by playing for the strongest board and other comps from there onwards. As mentioned, you should look to cash at later stages if your stacks are already beyond 330 stacks, since the rewards are not so good. At stage 3-7, we are looking to cash out above 450 stacks ideally. If you fall below that or estimate that you will not hit 450 stacks by stage 3-7, you should already look to cash out 290 stacks by stage 3-3 for the earlier power spike instead. However, if you manage to cash out above 450 intel stacks, you have 1 in 3 chances to get 2 upgraded 5 costs and 24 gold, or a Tactician's Crown, Item Anvil, and an upgraded 4 cost. If you really maximize your kills, you can even get to 500 intel by this stage, though it is very unlikely. All the cash outs here will be super useful, such as a best in slot 2-star Draven, or 80 gold, or 5 completed item anvils, or 5 emblems that fit perfectly with your Cypher units. If you survive to cash out at stage 4-2, you are aiming to get between 550 to 700 intel stacks for the cash out shown here. At 550 stacks, you have 1 in 3 chances of getting an upgraded 5 cost and 2 random Radiant items, or a 4-star Vi with Radiant Gargoyle Stoneplate and 3-star LeBlanc with Shojin, or even 6 lesser dupes, 2 greater dupes, and a Tactician's Crown to help upgrade your Zed, and 3-star your Galio and Draven for late game. At 600 intel cash out, you have 1 in 3 chances of getting 2-star Ziggs and a super best in slot 2-star Kobuko, or even a cash out that gives you the 3-star Draven and Galio immediately along with Radiant, Steadfast, and a Warmox. If you get to 700 intel stacks, there is a 25% chance of getting a super best in slot upgraded Zed, or a best in slot upgraded Renekton, or even 3 spatulas with 9 random components that you can potentially look to make a prismatic trade like Street Demon, Anima Squad, or even Exotech. At stage 4-7, you are looking to cash out at either 900 or 1000 intel stacks. These cash outs are meant to be guaranteed wins unless you meet crazy win conditions like 3-star 5 costs already or other early prismatic trades. 900 intel stacks gives a 50% chance to obtain Boblet Explosion that makes the 2-star Zac constantly gain blobs even when you do not find them in the shops. This means that the Zac will keep scaling in terms of AP and health indefinitely as long as you survive. It further comes with 3 of his best in slot items: Suspicious Trenchcoat, Covalent Spark, and Protector's Vow. It is quite impossible to lose with this Father of Blobs. This is unless you are fighting a 1000 intel stack cash out where there is a 1 in 3 chance of getting a 3-star 5 cost straight away, or grants 10 Anima Squad, 10 Exotech, and 10 Street Demon to your board regardless of their traits, or gives you upgraded Zac, Aurora, Urgot, and Samira with full best in slot items for all 4 of them. If you reach this point, you should not be losing unless you are doing something seriously wrong. Do remember not to aim for a 5-5 cash out unless you are playing Win Streak Hostile Takeover, as most opponent late game bots by then will be too strong for any incomplete transition for your Cypher late game comps and you may die accidentally. So for your early game in stage 1 and 2, you should look to play Cypher if you are in a good spot for it. That means having 3 Cypher opener with Galio or Draven dropping from the stage 1 orbs. Draven is preferred since you can use Draven and LeBlanc to lock your Vi in the bottom right corner to ensure your lose streak, such as what is being shown in the team builder here. However, if you get Galio, you can position LeBlanc in front to make sure she dies first. This is easier than Cam Baron last set, as Draven and Galio are not super strong early game units unlike Rani and Smeech. You must ensure the lose streak with constant scouting and repositioning. This is also important to get carousel priority to farm your items for your end game. If you are confident losing, you can add in some extra units to kill off enemy units for extra intel stacks. If you are lucky enough to have 4 Cypher at the start, I would suggest to just full open with the 4 Cypher units since a 10 lose streak would more or less guarantee a win out, instead of risking your lose streak with extra units on your board. For stage 3, you should have 4 Cypher active. Your 4th Cypher unit can be found in the shop or from carousel if you are lucky. Prioritize this over item components if they show up on the carousel. Else, you may have to roll for the unit with a level 6 shop. Continue to lose streak through stage 3 with scouting and repositioning. Lock your Galio at the bottom right instead of Vi since he is stronger. If you have the risk of losing, you may want to lock both Vi and Galio as shown in the team builder below using 3 ranged units. If the lobby is strong, you can position more normally to start killing units and to save some health. When you reach stage 4, you should aim to get 5 Cypher active. You will need to find Z from the carousel, or you can try to find him together with your 4-1 roll down for your other endgame units. You should ideally be at level 8 for this roll down. Continue to lose streak if needed, or you can start transitioning to your endgame comp with units like Zeri, especially if you think that your intel stats are sufficient for a strong cash out based on the magic numbers. Unless you are super lucky that you have had some health augments picked up or are playing with a hostile takeover win streak, you are looking to cash out latest by stage 4-7 and not later than that. Else, you are likely to have some sudden deaths given the high player damage and board strength at stage 5. For your endgame board, whichever stage you may have cashed out at, you are generally looking to transition to 2 kinds of board. But this is of course dependent on your roll down as well. You can look to form a Bastion rapid fire board with Zeri and Sedrani by dropping to 3 Cypher, in which you will prioritize having backline items like Greensu. This is also dependent on having good exotech items as well. But given the nerfs to Flux Capacitor and Hollow Bow for Zeri, as well as buffs being made to 5 Cypher stat bonus, you may consider trying the other board for now. The other board would be the Slayer Z board with 5 Cypher and 4 Slayer with Jarvan, Senna, and Vayne, with Z as your main carry. Based on the boards you are looking to end off with, you should plan your items accordingly. But what is common is that you should aim to 3-star Galio and Draven since they are typically uncontested units anyway. Last but not least are the augments you can take for this comp. Pray for health augments and pray for health loot ops. That is all I can say. The more health you have, the further you can live to collect intel stats for bigger cash outs. Obviously, the best would be the tiniest titans that will save you an average of 30 health, which is equivalent to 2 or 3 more losses that you can take. The 10 extra health from the hacked loot ops are also very helpful. Hostile Takeover, as talked about before, is also a good Cypher augment since you can play for win streak instead. Even though the cap is not as high as playing for lose streak, it is a safer way to play Cypher into a top 4 or top 3 position. Econ augments are good in general, especially those related to lose streaking. These are augments like Calculated Loss that gives you gold and rerolls as you lose. Since you are already going to be on a lose streak, it is good to capitalize on this with such augments in order to get lots of gold for your stage 4 roll down. General combat augments are also useful since you don't want to have any accidental losses after you cash out, since you will typically have only 1 to 2 more losses that you can take before dying. Thus, augments like Pumping Up can ensure higher combat strength for your board in the late game. Thank you for enduring this long-ass video together with me. You are absolutely awesome if you have reached the end of this guide, and I hope you have learned something from this video. If you find this video useful, I greatly appreciate if you can like the video and subscribe to my channel for more guides and gameplay videos. See you again, bye bye!